Ooh, when I was 26 or 27, I woke up one day and felt like my life was a nightmare. Like I was reliving a nightmare on a loop. This bad dream kept reoccurring every day. It's very eerie. Nothing really scary jumping at you. Not that kind of scary. It's more of a, is this how I'm going to spend the rest of my life kind of feeling? It was like I was in a job that felt pretty good. Not bad, you know? I was on paper doing really well for a 26-year-old. I was um I had a whole long beautiful life ahead of me, right? And yet every day when I went to the office, I would just look at the ceiling and have really, really dark thoughts. I was I had no tolerance for that reality. And I was like, I cannot imagine having to do this for another 30, 40 years for the hope of someday retiring into something beautiful with, good money. Hope everything works out. Hope I live long enough. Hope everything works out to like delay my current reality for that. I just was not willing to do that. And I knew something had to change, and that something was everything. And that was really overwhelming because it wasn't just a job, it was my whole lifestyle. It was like I woke up in this reality where I was like, uh-oh, call the manager, call the producer, I don't know who you need to call on my team. I am in the wrong movie. This is not the life that I wanted to live. This is not who I want to be. This is not how I want to live. Not in the right, nothing. None of the areas that I was looking at, and by consequence, even my health started to suffer. So it was relationships, it was creativity, it was career, it was finances, it was everything to some degree. It was like not exactly where I wanted to be. And there was this one sore thing in the middle, which was just in the wrong career. It was like just the wrong career was something that I was doing purely for money and no other reason. And I had no excitement, no joy, no meaning. And I had a lot to deal with outside of it. So, anyway, found myself in a reality where I was like, shit, I am not enjoying this, even though on paper it's fine. Everybody says it's fine. It's pretty good. You got it pretty good. You're in a really good job. You're doing really well. Your salary is pretty good. Everything is good. But you're feeling dead inside. And that's what I felt. And that's what I, at that moment, realized this is not the right life. And I don't need to have a logical explanation. Um, although I did have things that in hindsight were logical. It's just that at the time I thought the desire to express yourself or to be free or to be autonomous meant that I was being spoiled and I was a brat and I was asking for too much. I thought there was something wrong with me for wanting and needing location independence, time independence. I thought there was something wrong with me for being sensitive to office politics. I thought there was something wrong with me for blah blah blah. And it wasn't. I was basically gaslighting myself a lot, and at the same time also, to be fair, avoiding taking responsibility in a big way in many ways, which I had to learn. Of course, that's part of growing up. But, it was like these two together, combined together. And the way I dealt with it is to fire out, like, like the effort that I put in at the time and the hustle and the push and the trying and the grabbing and then the gnarliness of that period was something that I look back on like I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say. Part of me wants to say that's not right. The other part knows that that's exactly what needed to happen for you in that moment. This is who you were and this is where you were and you needed to go through all of these lessons. So good for you. So anyway, and I was reflecting earlier just before I started recording this video. I was reflecting on how the gap between our current life versus the life that we want. Every once in a while, we experience such a drastic call the manager, call the producer moment. I think I'm on the wrong set, guys. I think I'm in the wrong movie. Every once in a while for most people, and for a lot, maybe not for everybody, but for people who are, you know, heart wide open. I'm open to life. Throw it at me. I can handle it. People who have gone through so much in their lives, like they're like, well, yeah, I'm okay. Bring it on. When we go through things like that, the first thing we think about is beyond, okay, well, all the fears and doubts and everything, even if we have worked through all of those things, one of the first things that always pops up is the overwhelm at the magnitude of the change, the magnitude of what needs to happen. It feels like a lot of work, even if it's just one area that feels severely out of balance. And you have lots of fears around that one area, lots of trauma around that one area. Even changing that one area can feel like such a big endeavor. Like, oh, I don't know where to begin. It's too much. I don't know. It's too much, right? So the mistake that I made at the time is that I expected too much of myself too quickly. And I see this all the time. And I still struggle with this, So, for example, one of the goals that I held for the longest time, for whatever reason, was to become the kind of person who drinks 2 liters of water every day. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the one of the few things in life that, despite trying my best efforts, no matter how much I tried, no matter which different ways, never worked out. To this day, I am not the kind of person who drinks 2 liters of water every day, and I wish to. It would be better for me, it would be better for my skin, it would be better for my body, it would be better for my focus, for my whatever. I just don't do it. I don't know. I can forget about drinking water until I'm like, maybe I'll just take a sip. I don't know. It's just like I'm built for the desert. And so so basically I just expect myself to go from being this person who literally will have like one sip of water and otherwise just survives on decaf coffee all day every day, from being this person to being this person who's going to drink all this amazing, infused water. Like, this is just this imagination of who I'm supposed to be in my head, is somebody who drinks this from a cup or a glass that looks a certain kind of way. What I create a whole movie in my head, a whole freaking fantasy about the entire thing, and tomorrow I'm gonna start doing that. It's gonna look this way, and then of course it doesn't happen because I'm expecting too much of myself. And so what actually did work is to say, well, how about we start with 1 glass of water first thing in the morning, and if it helps, you can put it next to you on your nightstand or somewhere that tie it to a habit that's already there. So waking up, hopefully I continue to wake up for some time. Waking up every morning, it's going to happen. It's something that's going to happen, hopefully. now, now now I'm overthinking that part. Uh, but tie it to a habit that something that is a trigger that's going to come up anyway, right? Like, if there is a meal that you're already eating at a specific time, tie it to that. If it's like before going to bed, sunrise, sunset, I don't know, tie it to something that you generally don't miss when you become aware of, and introduce just one thing at a time. Instead of saying, I'm going to become this person who's perfectly fit and healthy and eats in a certain kind of way or whatever. Well, how about you introduce just one plate of vegetables or fruits to your diet today? Just one, and then keep everything else the same. It's okay. It doesn't have to look like a perfect, you've become this completely different person, because I've never seen somebody like really change on that level until they've made the change a practice, and they not just one day at a time, one moment at a time, one moment at a time. And this only happens when we're conscious, when we're aware. So at the time, because I threw myself too quickly, I was in this hyper awareness, hyper vigilance, hyper presence mode. I was very present. I was like, okay, well, screw all of this. I'm leaving this behind, and I'm going to burn the bridges. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make my consulting work. I'm going to make my e-commerce things work. And I'm going to go like fully remote. I'm going to travel. I'm going to whatever. And that's exactly what I ended up doing. That's exactly what I did. I ended up getting, that same year, 2014, I got my very first client. Anyway, so, I ended up making it happen but it wasn't like it wasn't because I changed on the inside. I ultimately changed on the inside in many ways because life made me and because I also did some work, but it wasn't this willingness of like, okay, what is asked of me in this moment? Who is life asking me to become in this moment? It was more of I'm gonna force change the reality out there. And by doing that, I ended up recreating some of the struggles that I used to have before that I thought I healed by changing my outside circumstances. So those same habits and those same behaviors started to show up even 5 years later, 10 years later, in different ways, because it's easy to think that we change because our circumstances change. Like once I have the business that makes whatever amount of money and I'm traveling and I'm doing blah 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 and my life looks a certain kind of way, then I'm going to feel different and I'm going to become a different person. My behaviors are going to magically change. Experiences of every like my life experience of every moment is going to be changed. We expect it to feel a certain kind of way, and it's not an ad in a luxury magazine. It's not a, it's like however you feel right now, who you are right now, when the circumstances change, your behaviors will change momentarily, and then you'll go back because you haven't really taken the time to grow into becoming a different person. Not just force change your identity by changing your outside circumstances and saying certain things and acting as if or whatever bullshit that is, but actually by by acting as if in a more literal sense where you take the action in this moment, but gently, with compassion, with understanding, with care, not with pushiness, but with acceptance of who you are, acceptance of who you're becoming, and whatever it takes along the way. And that is a much, 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 much more sustainable way of changing. So, you can act like a victim and not take any action at all, or you can take only action and not give a hoot about how you feel and about your inner child. And neither one works. You need the inner work and you need the outer work. You need to sit down with your emotions and work through them and sit with your inner child and make them feel safe. And you also need to show up and be an adult and be the parent and do the right thing and all of that all together for these things to work. So changing your life despite circumstances doesn't have to feel like going from 0 to 100. It doesn't have to feel like the outside circumstances change and then I change. It doesn't, it actually, it's never like that. It's always you change first and then the world around you follows. It's always been like that in one way or another. And the more concrete the change becomes, the more your identity really changes in the process, and you ask, what is life is asking of me, and you become that person. The more you let that person unfold as you're taking the action, the more the results of your actions, the longer they're going to last, the more they're going to feel the way they hope they would feel, and the better your life is going to be. Because if you don't do that, you end up creating the wrong life, which may or may not look like what you thought on paper, but it wouldn't feel the way you expect it to feel. And your past self will catch up on it to you, and your habits will take you out, and you will keep recreating cycles of struggle again and again and again and again and again. So that is my message. It's a practice every day, every moment, moment by moment, choosing to act. This is what they call in alignment with being a person. For lack of other words, this is what alignment is. It's not it feels good, it feels right, and I saw 11:11 on the clock and whatever else. It's not that. It's who you choose to become based on what you know life is asking of you in that moment. That's it. That's my message for today. I'm sending you lots of love. I'll see you soon.